Jerry Sandusky back in a Center County courtroom hoping for a reduced sentence. Why it didn't happen and who stopped it. It was another scene of lights, camera, and action at Bellefonte Courthouse this afternoon. A high-profile prisoner, Jerry Sandusky, back in town hoping to get his sentence reduced. But that hope never became a reality. Tonight, WTAJ has team coverage of the fallout from the court today. We're going to start with my co-anchor, John Clay, who is live on location. So, John, can you tell us what happened at the hearing today?
Well, it was a very interesting day. Amanda, the last time Jerry Sandusky was here at the Bellefonte Courthouse was 2017. And Jerry walked in and shuffled into the courthouse today with two main goals in mind. One was to get a shorter sentence, and the other was to line up a new trial. He didn't get, again, that shorter sentence. He maintains his innocence, and that really angers the victims in this case. They spoke out with statements to the judge that the prosecution read today, saying that they were calling him the worst kind of pedophile, no remorse and only evil. One wrote, "I want you to know I will never forgive you." Another wrote that there is no punishment sufficient for you. Now, the judge told Jerry Sandusky that he left a legacy of trauma. Our Evan Hinckley was inside the courtroom today when we watched Jerry Sandusky address the judge, and it got emotional at times, Evan.
Certainly, John, some emotional moments. Jerry Sandusky broke down first when mentioning the relationship that a foster child had with his parents, and then again when referencing those who still believe that he is innocent. And that speaks to why he retains and didn't want to talk today inside the courtroom about taking any type of responsibility for his actions or alleged actions. Mr. Sandusky, do you retain your innocence?
Well, absolutely.
Friday, Jerry Sandusky didn't have much new to say, nor did anyone else involved with both sides of this case.
This is the worst injustice in the history of American jurisprudence. It's awful. Okay, and I'm hopeful. I'm a believer in our judicial system. And so when you get into one of these situations, we keep fighting it, and we're going to continue fighting it, and I think we're going to be successful eventually.
We're confident that his convictions will stand and he'll remain incarcerated for the rest of his life.
Judge Maureen Skirter from Forest and Warren counties in Pennsylvania handed out a sentence identical to the one Sandusky received back in 2012, 30 to 60 years behind bars. Sandusky will receive credit for serving nearly 7.5 years.
There was absolutely no evidence presented to the court, no testimony that would ever justify such a reduction. So we're very pleased that he received the 30 to 60-year sentence once again. He deserves it.
I think we're disappointed. We were hopeful we'd get a better sentence. It didn't work out. I can't say that we're really surprised. It's kind of, we didn't think that there was that much had changed.
An emotional Sandusky in court spoke about a female volunteer in the Second Mile who he says knew his true character and that he wasn't a pedophile.
What he said was from his heart. What his decision, this was strictly his decision whether to speak or not.
But also read aloud in court were statements from 4 victims who claimed Sandusky sexually assaulted them.
They're losing sleep. Some of them are reliving the trauma that they experienced when this assault occurred and when they had to come back here and give testimony in court, which is the reason they chose not to be here today.
Justice was served, the victims' voices were heard, and we're hoping that we can close this chapter and move on.
And also brought up today by the prosecution were instances of misconduct by Sandusky in prison. Specifically, they referenced moments where he refused to listen to certain orders that were given to him. We're also told he served 5.5 years of his nearly 7 years in jail in solitary confinement. So the prosecution, John, trying to say that Sandusky is not taking responsibility for his actions in jail right now as well. His lawyer, Al Lindsay, countered those, saying that these were small actions. One example he gave was that Sandusky saying he's not finished yet eating when asked to give his tray back. So kind of some back and forth there on that today, but ultimately things stayed the same in terms of his sentence. John.
All right, Evan Hinckley inside the courtroom with us today. Thank you, Evan. One of the issues here we talked about what Jerry Sandusky was hoping to do is to line up a new trial. We want to remind you what his attorneys are indicating are the key reasons that he should get a new trial. That includes the violation of his right to remain silent from his trial, a violation of his right to due process, and ineffective legal assistance. We want to bring in our a legal assistant for a little bit of analysis. Tony, first off, were you surprised at all by the resentence today?
No, I mean, it's to be expected that the judges like to reaffirm other judges when they're correct in their opinion, and so I'm not surprised at all. This was simply a resentencing based on the fact that the mandatory minimums were no longer constitutional.
We just mentioned some of the reasons that his attorneys want a new trial. How difficult is it for him to get a new trial?
It's going to be very difficult. He's already litigated those issues in the first round of appeals. Yes, he does get to appeal again because of a new sentence, but unless he has new evidence, those same arguments are not going to be winnable.
And how do you generally feel the legal community is watching this case and feels about this case at this point?
I think it's been a long, drawn-out process. Of course, it is the process, and sometimes it just gets drawn out longer because of certain things like this, where the law became unconstitutional. So pretty much everybody's come to a conclusion as to what happened and where it's going to go, but you still have to let the defendant do their appeals.
Right. All right. Well, we certainly have heard that they're going to continue that. Al Lindsay indicating that he's going to continue his appeal.
Right. He can go back to the state again if he wishes, or since the state has exhausted its first round, he can go to federal court.
All right. Tony DeBoof joining us with legal analysis. Thank you, Tony. And again, we'll continue to watch over the next 10 to 30 days those new motions and requests for any appeal in his case. Reporting live from the Center County Courthouse, John Clay, WTAJ News. Amanda, back to you.
Well, John, I do understand that Jerry Sandusky's wife was there today for the resentencing and that you were actually able to speak with her for a few moments. Can you tell us what she had to say to you?
Yeah, Dottie was there right in the front row over with a bunch of supporters following this case very closely. When Jerry came into the courtroom, he waved and smiled at her, just really lit up when he saw her. And when I asked her afterwards if she had any thoughts, first off, she wasn't quite sure what had happened. It was hard to kind of understand what this new sentence was. But then when she came to understand that, she said to me that she just hopes one day that the truth comes out. Again, she and her supporters still adamant that Jerry Sandusky is innocent. Reporting live from the Center County Courthouse, John Clay, WTAJ News.